All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate everybody joining us on this Saturday morning, and I'm honored and blessed to be able to be a part of this Sure program in this presentation. So, over the next few minutes, we're going to talk about cause selling and grants, right? We're going to talk about money. So, the good thing is, we're going to go through an agenda and we're going to talk about social impact and why it is a thing. We're going to talk about ways that you can incorporate social impact in cause selling. And then we're going to talk about some basic grant education. If you don't know what a grant is at all, I'm going to walk you through this, right? And then at the end, I'm going to give you a free bonus and some things that we put together to help people with coronavirus, but it can serve you well as well, because we're going to talk about grants, and I'm going to give you a guide with over 1,000 grants in it. So one of my favorite consultants is Grant Cardone, and he says a famous quote by him is, the value of a consultant is not to tell you what you know, but instead to show you what you don't. So I'm one of his students as well. So I'm glad that you guys get to be my student. I'm going back to school for the next, call it 30 minutes. So I don't expect you to hear me unless you know me. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. But before we do that, I'm going to talk to you about a fun fact I learned about presentations. When it comes to presentation, and the Harvard Business Review did a study. So if all of you just listen to the words that I'm saying over the next 3 business days, you will forget about 90% of what I say. Now, if you listen and take notes, you'll actually retain in 3 business days about 40% of what I'm saying. Now, if you listen, you take notes and review the presentation one time, you will retain about 90% of the information that I say over the next 3 business days. So, moral of the story is take notes and review it at least one time, whatever you do, right? It's an incredible study. So, I know it's early and I know I'm talking fast, but I believe in, being quick and succinct. So, I'll tell you a little bit about our story, how we started this platform, how we got into grants. So just a little bit about me. I am from Texas, born and raised. I grew up in Fort Bliss. What my background is in enterprise software. So I have sold for some of the largest technology companies in the world. Dell EMC. I sold ERP software for SAP, against SAP and Oracle. I sold modern technology for like MongoDB. So all of your top apps and the new modern software is built on that database. So, but that's not my passion. What my passion was something that I started in college, sitting in the same shoes that you are right now. So when I went to college, and that was kind of a long time ago, right? Over 10 years. I graduated from UTSA in 2008. But when I went to college, the African-American male graduation population was less than 6%. So we started an organization to help alleviate and eradicate stereotypes against African-American males on university campuses throughout the country. So back in 2006, we founded an organization called Men of Honor. You probably have Men of Honor. I believe there's still a chapter at U of H. There's 80 chapters around the US and Canada. But we got a lot of notoriety. We got a lot of press when we started that organization. And in that organization, once we graduated, we wanted to expand it. But as you know, coming out of college, we didn't have a lot of expansion money. So we went to go look for grants. There wasn't a lot. Grants are hard to find. They're even more difficult to write. So we ended up paying a grant writer. I ended up getting burned. And I said, look, there's got to be an easier way. Again, we were at a point where something was unacceptable. It changed, and it had to change. So there was no app. I'm a millennial. So I was like, look, there's got to be an app for that. There wasn't. So we created it. And in the last 26 months, we've helped organizations. Took us a couple of years to build the platform, but we've helped organizations get about $5.8 million in the last 26 months. And the good thing is we're in a position that will probably help organizations get about $5 million in the next 3 to 6 months, right? Because a huge bill just got passed with coronavirus, and I'm going to give every one of you a free guide at the end of this to find grants for yourself, which is cool. So we've been in a number of different accelerators, featured on several different news stations. I saw one of the Canon is actually one of our clients, and they presented on here as well. I saw one of their slides. If you don't know what Capital Factory is, that's another resource. They are one of our investors in our company. So that's just a little bit about us. Again, my passion. This is my baby girl, right? This is my reason for living. Everybody should know what somebody's motivation is coming out. So that is mine. That's my personal goal, is to make this world a better place for her. We have had a number of different books and courses, not because we're incredibly brilliant, but because we didn't know what we didn't know. And as you dive and do research on something that you want to change, you ended up getting a lot of information. And that information is something that you can definitely capitalize on and be a light to a lot of different people. So that's a little bit about me and how I got into this. Now, let's go into why you're here. So 3 things. Again, we're going to talk about social impact and why cause selling is a thing, a few ways that you can incorporate social impact into your company, and then grants, where to find them, and just a base level understanding of what a grant is. So cost selling, this is something that everybody needs to understand. And if you don't know this, you can Google this. It's called the Great Wealth Transfer. Now, the Great Wealth Transfer is what experts are calling one of the largest, the greatest single opportunity for creating wealth in the history of the US. Why this is because we're in a state where there's 10,000 baby boomers that are retiring every single day, right? We have, for the first time, you have 3 to 4 separate generations all in the workplace at the same time. Now, there was a study done that, and it says 70% of millennials are willing to spend more on a product or service that has a cause attached to it. Why that's important, I talked about the baby boomers. They're retiring at such a high rate. The millennials are going to hold the keys to both the buying decisions for the generation older than them, which is their moms and their grandpas that are there, right? And they're also going to hold the keys for their kids, like I just showed you. My little girl's 5 years old, and I'm 33. As an older millennial, right, you're going to make the decision for your kids. Now, with that said, you need to understand that 70% of us are willing to buy a product or service that has a cause attached to it. So whenever we're building a product, wherever we're building a service, and you'll see this, I know a lot of you may have watched Shark Tank. You'll see almost every product that comes out on Shark Tank, and they teach this, right? Because we've been there. They teach this, you need to have a cause attached to it, because your brand will become a movement. And that's what you want. You want your clients to become fans of what you're doing, right? And it becomes bigger than you. So that is extremely important. And cause selling is a thing. It's huge, right? And if you don't know what the Great Wealth Transfer is, and this is the first time you're hearing about it, Google it. It's not something I just came up with right now. It's something that everybody needs to learn about, because it'll help you shape your company and really beat your competitors coming out. So I'll give you a few examples of cost selling and how people do it. I know this picture's a little grainy, but how many of you like the Houston Rockets, right? Get some audience participation. Some of you do, you don't. I know nobody's playing right now, but if you don't know, every major NBA team, every major franchise, they have what's called the foundation. The foundation is a nonprofit. And what that does is they go out, they do great things in the community. And then, right, people end up also buying tickets because they support and they feel their fans and their team, and they want to support them because they're doing good things in the community. And that's done within, their nonprofit foundation. Every major Fortune 500 company has a foundation. And if you don't know what a foundation is, again, it's one of the things you need to learn about is a 501c3, which is a nonprofit organization that helps you get tax exempt status, and that helps that organization get tax deductible donations, right? So they do good things in the community, and then they partner with other organizations, and they get grants for that, and they're able to increase their sales because of the great things that they're doing in the community, because people like to help out. So that is huge. Really understand that it happens at every single level. Every large organization spends millions of dollars every year to do that. So in your product, in your service, whatever your company is, you really want to be doing some of those same things at your level. Mattress Mac, how many of you know who this is? Now, Mattress Mac is one of the greatest marketers of our time, and he resides right here in Houston. For those of you that don't know who Mattress Mac is, he owns Gallery Furniture. And if you've seen every major sporting event, whether it's a Super Bowl, whether it's any type of finals, major sporting event, he will bet, hey, win or lose, come and buy a whole bunch of furniture. And if you win, I'll give you, X amounts of thousands of dollars of furniture for free. Now, and he's known for that. He makes a ton of money on that, even if he loses, for those of you that don't know, right? Because he's able to hedge his bets and cover his losses. But another thing he does very well is he does community outreach, and this is cost selling. You don't know how much notoriety and press Mattress Mac was able to get when the last big hurricane came through, right? We had that huge storm, everything was flooded, people were closing their doors, even large organizations, and he opened up his facilities and let people come in, and he was serving food. And that was done within his, foundation, within his organization. Now, after that, believe it or not, two things happened. One is a bunch of people donated, other organizations and his manufacturers donated a bunch of mattresses, and he was able to cover his losses. The other thing is a bunch of people did a ton of business with Gallery Furniture because of the great things that he's doing in the community. So cause selling is huge. It's huge. It's huge. And if you're not incorporating this into your company now, the good news is it's not too late. You can definitely do that, and you'll see a huge shift. It's kind of like the internet, right? In the internet, and I remember, so 1998, I was sixth grade. But when the internet first came along, there were business owners that said, well, I'm going to adopt a website. And there were others that said, well, I don't really know if I need a website. But today, if you don't have a website, people aren't going to do business with you. That's where social impact is going. In the next few years, you'll see if a product or service doesn't have some type of social impact attached to it, the millennials, they'll go somewhere else, right? They're not going to want to do business. So here's what you need to know, and you can ask yourself, it's not whether you're doing it, it's whether your customers know about it. And this is huge, right? So do your customers know about the historical social impact that you've done? Do they know what cause that your company supports? Do they know how many hours your team is volunteering throughout the year, right? Whatever they're doing, it's all about, and this is with the impact report, right? Do your customers know about your current impact that you're doing right now? And you'll see more and more companies start to do that. And we have been fortunate to study a lot of this and learn some of these things that'll serve companies well. So really incorporate this, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind. But you saw this presentation today, so there's no excuse in the future. With millennials, you're seen as doing one to two things. You're either seen as helping the community or taking from the community. Again, you can Google this. It's called the line. When you look at the Great Wealth Transfer, that the line is part of that. right? Where companies, it's about perception. That's why you see so many feedback surveys. If you don't notice, there's been a shift in the last, I'd say 5 years of a voice of the customer, voice of the employee. Usually people just ask you, how you're doing, but almost every company is engaging in some type of feedback, right? When you order a product or service, even online, they ask you, hey, how was your shipping? How are things going? Right? Customer service is going to another level. So part of this is the line is, and you'll see this with social impact. What is our customers' perception of our product, our service, our company? One for what the service that we're doing, but you'll see a lot of that feedback shifting to social impact to see what their perception is, because this is a huge concept. So now that you know that social impact is a thing, how can we incorporate it? Because that's big. So I'll give you a few examples, and these examples will help you frame what you can do and why that may be applicable to your product or service. So first thing is you need to understand what's going on here, right? Some of this it's by design, because marketers at companies, they spend hundreds, of thousands, even millions of dollars making sure that their product or their service is readily available and it has social impact attached to it. And some of these things, I don't even really know what it is, right? So I'll give you an example. So as you saw, I have a family. I go down to the grocery store and my little girl says, Daddy, I want some eggs. So we buy some eggs. I go to the grocery store. I look at the grocery store door, right? And I have two choices as I open the door. One of them is eggs. The other one is cage-free eggs, right? Now, I have two choices, and one of them is double the amount of the other. Now, a common misconception that all of us hear is people buy on price. And that's not true. People buy on value. So even though the cage-free eggs are almost double, I end up buying them versus the regular eggs because why? They have a cause attached to them. They treat them a little better. Oh, there's a typo there. They treat them a little better than the regular ones. I don't know, they run around, whatever, right? But we buy the cage-free eggs, and some of your parents do. And this is at every social economic status. It happens. So again, I'll take you back to 1998 when I was in 6th grade. Now, I'm a Niners fan, and good, bad, or indifferent. I know there's a lot of Cowboys and Texas fans out there, but one of the backpacks I really wanted was a nice 49ers. There was this jacket, and there was a nice backpack that went to it. Now, I had two choices. There was a leather backpack that I could have got, right? And then there was another one back then when I was in 6th grade. They called it pleather, right? They called it a pleather backpack. Now, pleather backpacks have gotten a lot of notoriety and press because they rebranded with a cause. So right now, if you go out, you can buy a nice regular backpack, leather backpack, for about $49. That same backpack in 1998, right, that was a pleather, fake leather, is now triple the cost, labeled a vegan backpack. No different. The material's the same, but it has a cause attached to it. So start to think about that when you're who your audience is and how you can brand it and attach it to a cause, because you can get a lot more margin when you attach a cause to it. I'll give you another example, right? And you'll see this a lot with who you're targeting, and that's, we do a whole thing on cause selling and cause marketing, a 2-day course on that, and a 2-day course on grants. But a nice dinner with no impact, dinner for two, about $95, right? At a steakhouse. And it doesn't matter. Steakhouse doesn't matter. The product doesn't matter. What matters is the strategy. So if you market that same dinner, that same steak on a night to a nonprofit, and they're doing their gala, right? They do their gala. That same dinner is worth almost triple. Again, $300 for 2 tickets, right? And that's on the low end. Some of those gala dinners, and we go to a few of them, are right $500, $1,000 per ticket. So keep that in mind if who you're marketing to, because there's a lot of money once you understand how to do cost selling. Environmental wise, right? The bug bully, pests. We're talking about getting rid of rodents. People attach a cost to that. Yes. Here's 2 examples. And so I also invest in real estate, and this is a company that we actually used. So bug bullies, $30 a month to get rid of your pests. We're talking about bugs, right? There's another company called Earth's Best, Natural Pest Management. I guess they treat the bugs a little bit better, when they when they kill them, or the pesticide, it has less pesticides in the chemicals they use, again, to kill the bugs. So again, the pricing is about the same, but it's more, $30 a month, $125 a quarter. Still 100 versus 125, almost 25% more for a service that's used for the same thing that has a cause attached to it. It's just more environmental friendly. Are you starting to think about this different? Another one, like I said, we're commercial real estate investors. Here's an apartment. And for those of you that don't know, this is the same property, right? We're not, just so you know. One of them is $875 a month, right? And we're talking, this is in the Pasadena area, right next to your school. Another, and property B is a property teaching kids about nutrition to grow and sell vegetables in a community garden, right? Almost the same property, but you're able to increase and get more rent because you're doing more for the people in that community, and they will pay more. Remember, millennials are 70% more likely to buy or spend more money on a property, and you need to be marketing millennials because they hold the keys on both sides. So just so you know, and the last one, even apps, we're talking technology. Yes, even apps, same thing. Let's talk about an app that's $9.95 a year, app with a similar functionality, right? Almost double. They donate a piece of cell to deliver medical supplies in disaster scenarios to Haiti, Bahamas, Puerto Rico. One's $10 a year, the other one's $24, almost double the price, just because you attached a cause to it. So think about this. This is huge. It's a thing. Now you know a few ways that, and a few ideas you can use to incorporate that. So now let's talk about grants, right? So before that, if you do all of that in the right type of structure, and there's people that can help you, we can definitely help you on that as well. And we teach courses on it. We're working with, we have an office. Our office is actually at U of H in the technology center and on the innovation bridge. So if you have a cause center and package all of that correctly, have a cause center, you have a product or service put into it, there's some substantial benefits, right? You can get a $50,000 tax credit. You can get large company to pay you to get to market your product or service. We're talking about $10,000 every single month. And using that, you can increase your sales by almost $30,000 in 60 to 90 days. And you can get things like green money incentives, foundation grants, corporation grants, celebrity grants, and we'll talk about that. So that's a big thing when you talk about community impact. And most people are already doing that. So one last thing, we'll talk about grant education, and then we will land this thing home. It's funny because usually we do talks like this and speeches. I like to do audience participation, and you hear no audience in the background. So I can see y'all getting excited on the other end of this presentation. So I appreciate the energy. I can feel it through the computer. So last thing, is grants. So I'm going to give you a few definitions. I'm going to give you what grants are, good ways to get it, and then we'll go from there. It's very hot in here. So definitions. One is a grant is a gift, a gift that does not have to be repaid. It's basically free money that you don't have to give back. A fundraising, a funding opportunity, and this is usually on the federal level, right? It's listed by the grant or by the funder, right? We call them, of course, we're grant source, so we call them grant sources. And the last thing is a grant award. So a grant award is the money that is granted to the applicant, right? So once you get and they assign you the money, that is the grant award, okay? And last, the applicant. The applicant is the person that actually applies for that grant award. I know this is elementary to some of you, so I'll speed through these next two. So the application, proposal, letter of inquiry, those are all the same. If you hear those definitions, RFP, NOFA, and note, those are instructions on how the proposal needs to be prepared by the applicants. And for those of you that don't know, RFP is request for proposal, and the project description is the actual the text, the words that describes the objectives, the methods, and the procedures that need to happen within that grant, right? So that's just one. Like I said, I teach a whole 2-day course on that. But here's what you need to know, and everybody gets enamored by grants, but when it comes to grants, you really want to start at the bottom with the foundation, right? Because if you just go to the top, you're going to have less of a probability of getting it. So once you have a strong mission, you have your organizational structure, you have your board of directors, you've been able to showcase your social impact. And same thing when you're doing a for-profit, you want to find, when you're looking for grants, you want to go out and do some fundraising, and we call it project support fit. Just like in a for-profit, it's product market fit. Even if you're a for-profit and have a cause center, you want to find project support fit, because if you find what message really resonates with people and they'll give you $1 for it, then you can go get, $10,000, $20,000 from the federal government, from the local city, county, state, wherever that may be. And some of those grants are much larger. We're talking, hundreds of $1,000s into the millions. So once you learn how to make money, that's a good thing. But if you learn how to really hone these skills and create money, you can truly make a difference. And that's what we all are here to do, is make a difference. So where are grants offered? There's a few different levels. Now there's the federal government, and those can be found at grants.gov. There are state and local agencies. So we're talking national agencies, right, that are not necessarily in the federal government. We're talking about your state, your city, your county, and then bringing it all the way down to your local level. And sometimes that's at the district level, right, even further down in the city. And then there's a bunch of different foundations, and there's a bunch of different places that you can find foundations. The tricky thing about foundations is there's a bunch of them, and a lot of them don't have contact information. So there's a lot of different databases that, and we offer one as well, that you can find these foundations. So just to tell you where these dollars are and where the money comes from. Government dollars come from taxpayers. So government dollars at any level, from federal, city, county, state, they all come from the taxpayer dollars, and they are reallocated to reduce the government burdens, and that's how these dollars are allocated. Corporate grants, they come from corporate profits, and they're put into special accounts. So one of the ones that we showed before, like Walmart has a certain budget for grants that they want to give to entities. There's also a lot of companies, and you'll see large company with like different funds that they want to give out for grants. Some of them are venture funds, and some of them are just grants that they want to give. Give you an example, like Facebook. Facebook has a huge one right now. Foundations, they come from personal dollars that people donate to the foundations and they give. Now, we don't deal with scholarships. We only deal with grants for nonprofits and for-profit organizations, large organizations. But you'll see those dollars that are given out to people, and that's important. That's where the money comes from. Just to give you a baseline of where all these dollars are. So when it comes to foundation and corporations and those type of grants, there's over 140,000. And this is one that's always overlooked. Foundation and corporation grants, when you look at grants, those are where the low hanging fruit is. And you need to incorporate social impact in order to get those dollars, and then you can go after them. And when in that free resource, you'll see a ton of them that are available. Federal government, so just by comparison, if you look at this, there's over 140,000 different foundation and corporate entities that'll give out grants. The federal government has there's 26 different agencies. There's really 11 that give out grants every single year, and there's about 4,000 to 5,000 opportunities annually, and that's at the federal level, and that's at that grants.gov website. And lastly, the state government, and that varies by agency and municipality, but as you know, that there's state, county, and city grants that are given all over the US and Canada. So what are some of these grants given for? So there's marketing grants, and that's another common misconception that people don't even know that are out there once we're talking about business. And that's one of the ones that we have a very high success ratio, 90% in actually getting for people. There's green money incentives. So green money incentives are for like tax rebate. If you have a property, those are big. Every tax abatements. I know you see the Canon out there, they presented as well. They have a thing called the Founders District, and a tax abatement the city gave that whole district. And anytime there's a huge stadium or anything built in the city, those organizations go look for green money incentives, right? They let them know what they're going to do and the tax revenue that's going to come in. And there's some incentives and some environmental incentives and different things that are able to be given to those agencies. Economic development grants, those are grants that are available to boost and stimulate the economy. And there's economic development corporations that every single city has to give to business entities. Community block grants. And a lot of those are to beautify and give sometimes the city a facelift, or that county a facelift. We got one for one of our properties down that in Pasadena, right, that we were going after. So that's big. You can get those in foundation and corporation grants. Those are the low-hanging fruit. If you have a certain cause that resonates with that foundation or that corporation, they have funds that they have to give out every single year. Now, grants, there's about $3.2 billion with a B every single year that just go unallocated. So you really want to be going after grants, but you need to have a strategy. Otherwise, you're going to bang your head against the wall. But there's a ton of money out there. So I appreciate everybody's time. One thing I looked on here, I did not put, and this is one of the rules that every presenter should never do, I didn't put my contact information on the slides, but I'll give you this website, and this will help you out tremendously. And if you guys want to go and get constant updates for new grants that are available, I'll give you this site. Even if there's anybody that you know that's a business owner or an individual that has been affected by coronavirus, I have a toolkit we exported, and we usually don't do this, but we exported over 1,000 different grants and resources out of our database, along with some news on recent funding that's updated every single day. So you can go to gsgranttoolkit.com So that, of course, it stands for Grant Source. So gsgranttoolkit.com. And if you do need to get in contact with us, you can sign up there, and our contact information is on the site. You can go there. If you do need to get me for any reason, our direct line, and you can write this down, our office is right there in U of H, and our business is booming right now because we're really looking for new grant writers and other things. So our office is at the U of H campus. Anybody looking for internships, you can email us at info@grantsourceapp.com. And my line, you can get me at 832-416-1377. 832-416-1377. If you just want to look at the toolkit, you can, or if there's anybody that you would like to share this information with, it's gsgranttoolkit.com. So, and make sure, for some reason, make sure you put the www in, www.gsgranttoolkit, and that will serve you well. So I appreciate everybody's time. I hope everybody has a blessed day. I enjoyed our time here today. Like I said, I felt your energy through the screen. So y'all have a good one. Hopefully we will meet in the future in person. We're going to do a summit at our office once everything settles down and we figure out what the new normal is going to be. But every single one of you, we charge for those. But if you're a U of H student, again, just email me and we'll get you in for free. So y'all have a great day, and we'll go from there. Thank you.